The world would be a much better place if we could find our tribe. Why can't we find that? What's going on, guys? Thank you for joining me again this week. We are going to dive right in. The world would be a much better place if we could find our tribe, right? Like if we could finally find that business that is true to it, not new to it, that is ride or die for our causes, and that just aligns so well with what it is we're trying to do with our life. Why can't we find that? Well, maybe it's because you're not doing it. You're not the brand yet that you need to be. And I think I found a way that I can help you get there. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Let's talk about this thing called a Brand Manifesto. Now, I mentioned last week in our conversations, podcast, YouTube video, if you're not familiar, I have a podcast called the CEO Mindset Podcast, where we're talking about things that are going to help us constantly evolve and be open to failing forward. And then here on this channel, we talk about all things business. We talk about personal growth, and we talk about primarily business, entrepreneurship, leveling up. What I found out, how can I help you? Well, Brand Manifesto. I believe it is so important to create one for your business. A Brand Manifesto, what is it? It is a statement of sort that sort of shares with the people that you want to collaborate with. It clearly states who you are as a brand. It clearly identifies your values, what you stand for, and it helps them to evaluate whether or not they want to work with you in some instances, because believe it or not, so many people make decisions based on whether or not your values align with their values. You know, we're not just looking at logos anymore to decide who we want to work with. We're not even just looking at expertise anymore. Believe it or not, just because you're the smartest person in the room doesn't mean people are going to choose you. It all boils down to lifestyle. So you're saying so many things with your voice, but not just your voice, but with your images, with the way you stand on different issues within your industry, and how you show up and provide an amazing customer experience. And so your brand manifesto is one of the things that is going to help you stand out, because you're standing up for something. It's showing people what you stand for. I have a few tips that I wanted to share with you. Now, the official definition that I looked up for a brand manifesto, I'm going to read it to you, is it's why we do what we do. It's a public declaration that explains the motivation behind a brand and the change it hopes to make or affect through its mission. It's a call to action meant to inspire others to unite around shared causes, regardless of their relationship to your business. So that's the official definition that I looked up. But basically, it is just you being you and standing on your truth and letting people know where you truly stand. And it kind of like is a beacon to other people who have that same feeling, that same thought. So you kind of have to be clear about it. The most important thing is that people are looking at this. And if you're growing your business this year, you're trying to grow as a person, this is important, having a brand manifesto, because you want to be able to explain to people who you are, what you're about, what you stand for, how you're showing up, how you want them to see you, and explain you to other people. So I think it's a pretty big deal. Let's get into these tips about what I feel creating a brand manifesto is going to help me with. Number one, it's going to help me with clarity, like I just spoke about, for my business and how I want to talk about it and share it with people. I have struggled in the past with sort of how I describe what it is I do. And it wasn't until last year that I really got some clarity around how people were receiving what it is I'm doing and how they were using the information that I'm sharing with them. And so because of that, I think I'm going to use that in my brand manifesto and start speaking that message very clearly about what it is I do. So that's exciting. So you get clear. The next thing is it helps me to be relatable and to maintain the authenticity of my brand. We talk a lot about the epiphany journey here and how it helps you to really identify where your audience is and how you can show up for them in real time and meet them where they are. I think this brand manifesto is going to help me also stay true to who I am when I show up. Yes, I can meet you where you are because I've been through it. I have the experience of helping other people get through it, so I can recognize where you are in my journey or in the process. But in order to continue to show up as myself, maintain my authenticity during someone else's journey, I think this brand manifesto is going to be extremely helpful, because I'm going to be reminded what it is I'm showing up for. Why am I here? What is my purpose? What is my role in this interaction? And staying true to that. Now listen, if you want to stick around and get your mind right, because listen, it is so easy to continue to do the same thing expecting a different result, because we think, oh, well, it didn't work last time, but I just did need to tweak this one thing and it'll work. When sometimes the whole idea needs to be scrapped. So if you're that person, the CEO Circle is definitely a place where we are talking about these things. And I'm just so excited about it, just to go through it, because changing your routine, changing your habit, doing something different, it's not easy. And thankfully I had a nice little support system when I was changing some of my habits, and my husband would catch me in some things and he would say, well, I thought you said you weren't going to do that, or maybe try this. And he was very helpful in that. And so I think inside a community would be a great way for you to do that if it's a change that you need to make as well. So I mentioned this a little bit earlier about another way to have this brand manifesto work for you, and that is to make sure that you have the right team. Your brand manifesto is also going to help you to attract the right people to your business. Everybody that I've talked to lately, a lot of the CEOs that I've been working with are struggling to keep people, and I told them that it's really important to create a culture for their business. Well, guess what? This brand manifesto is going to help you create the culture you want in your business, because people are going to know what you stand for and they're going to be attracted to that and maybe even want to work for it, maybe even help it out if they're contractors and help them to further their cause. So your brand manifesto is going to be a great way to sort of show yourself off and say, hey, this is who we are, this is what we're striving for, this is how we want to affect change in our industry. And if people are attracted to that and want to be a part of that, they will also want to join on the bandwagon and potentially be on your team. So that's your brand manifesto is just like a magnet of sorts. Now, let's get down to this last tip that I think is so important in how you can use your brand manifesto. It helps to create the brand culture. Your ability to define what your brand is about is going to help you decide how you want that your brand to show up in the world and begin to create a reputation for it and build those relationships based on it. And then it's also going to help you with that rapport. So that culture is where all that's going to be derived from, and it all comes from you knowing exactly like who your brand is and how you want it to show up. This manifesto, your legacy, if you will. I said that last week too. So to help you build your team, creating this culture is going to help. Your brand manifesto, in addition to your brand culture, is going to give them something to say, hey, I think I like what they're doing over here and I want to be a part of it. And then lastly, your brand manifesto is going to help you build community. As I mentioned at the top of this, like so many people are purchasing, joining communities, and just being a part of something because the values align, because they find you relatable, because they want to join in your cause. And so I know community building is something that I am really trying to do more of this year. So by the way, join my community. The CEO Circle is definitely where you want to be. But I want that to be a place where we can do all these things. We can come up with the right culture, help other people define their brand manifesto with the right language, and continue to stay motivated to shine in their business. So I'm just enthusiastic about how to use this brand manifesto and going to be creating one for myself. So if you want to create one too, let's do it together. I'll share mine if you share yours. So you can hit me over on Instagram in my DMs and share your manifesto, and I'll share mine with you too. We can do it that way and just engage over on that platform. But for now, I just feel like I wanted to just give you the heads up on this idea of having your own brand manifesto. So if you want to do it together, definitely subscribe to this channel. Let's work on that together. Or you can go ahead and apply to be a member of the CEO Circle, where we're working on those mindset shifts and really changing our mindset around a bunch of different things. But for sure, subscribe if you're not. So, all right, that does it.